Welcome to Horror Movies and Beyond, where we review horror movies for the living to understand the dead. I'm your host, Ivotres Littles, and today I'm joined by horror content creator and a very talented photographer, Emma of The Impact, and we are going to discuss 80s slasher pieces. Thank you for joining me. It's been a while. Yes, it has.
Since Satan's Slaves.
Yes, that was when I did ShoutoutLA. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of, you had a lot of great interviews too. So it was really cool to be a part of it. And thank you for inviting me here today to talk about why is it called pieces? Maybe because you only get pieces of reasons for why things happen. Who knows? But it's fun.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into this film. I mean, I've watched it a couple of times and it's still like, I always find something new, which is weird.
I did this time too, because I had it I'm going to do a podcast lenses on, so I'm like, wow, I never noticed that before, but there's a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of pieces.
Yeah, a lot. This is one hell of a movie. So let's get into it. Pieces came out in 1982. The co-eds of a Boston college campus are targeted by a mysterious killer who is creating a human jigsaw puzzle.
Which we don't know to the end. And they we'll just show you the pieces that he's taking from the bodies that correlate with this puzzle, which oddly enough in the beginning, I'm like, oh, he didn't put the hoo-ha or the feet in. He must really like feet. And then I couldn't stop noticing everybody's feet.
Yes. And it started, okay, the film starts in Boston of 1942.
With a landline curly-Q telephone. Anachronisms everywhere.
We don't know how old the kid was.
Yeah, he's 8, maybe? Younger?
Maybe. But he was smart enough to know, okay, he was putting this puzzle piece together and his mom was just like, we're not having it. But she was taking her energy out on him because of what his dad was doing. So she kind of explained, you're just like your father and all this stuff. And she goes through his things and he wasn't having it. And he just whacked her, chopped her, and was sawing her. Yeah, sawing her in pieces.
Yeah. I mean, when I first, not when I first watched it, the second time I watched it, this was third or fourth for this. I had a friend that's open to horror movies and open to movies that are a little cheesy or a little silly, but when the movie began with the kid axing his mother, he's like, I'm out. That's too much for me. So I enjoyed Pieces by myself.
Oh.
No, it's fine. I did enjoy it, but I don't know when you first watched it. I wasn't cool enough to know it before Joe Bob Briggs showed it on the last drive-in for his first marathon. So I had not seen Pieces, but I was no stranger to Juan Piquer Simon.
He was like, I'm going to finish this puzzle. And he's sitting in black, smart enough to hide in a closet and pretend, he in there crying and the police, get in there and open the door. He's like, oh no, mama. And it's like the acting. If that was today, that kid would be in handcuffs.
I mean, today, because it's they didn't even think not that we can assume, I think it's safe to assume that his aunt or whoever didn't say maybe he needs some psychiatric care after such a traumatic experience. Because, he didn't seem to process that later. And I didn't realize because so there's a very confusing scene right out that transitions into the present day. And I never really thought about it because it's just, we see a woman on a skateboard and it's all this chipper music going. We're like, okay, that's cool. And so she's skateboarding towards a giant, is it a mirror or a window that two men are carrying on the street?
It looks like a mirror.
It looks like a mirror. I think it's a mirror because we see her in the mirror. And she's about to crash into it, but then we go to the killer who's an adult now, we can see, and he looks like a Giallo slasher with the hat, or dark man with the hat and the trench coat and the gloves, and he's like really cramming those pieces and like he's having trouble. He has more trouble than he was a kid. It must be the arthritis. And so I'm like, wait a minute, and then we see a woman on like the quad doing homework. And I'm like, that's the same woman. What happened with the skateboard? So apparently, and this is how you correct me if you see it differently, because it's hard to piece together. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I'm not John Kassir. Who am I? Giving puns. Is that the event of seeing this girl almost go into the mirror reminds him was when he killed his mom, she crashed into the mirror, and so this triggered him to murder people. That's the best, like, because it is. I made sure I went back, and it's the same girl. And then I looked online, and someone said it's like, that's the same girl.
Because then, as an adult, he should have been killing already. It's like, what triggered now for those events to happen? And he happened to be in that area, and I think he saw that. And it's like, oh, I need to finish what I started, maybe?
Maybe he thought doing the puzzle again would qualm it, but he's like, nope, I just put the head on this puzzle. I need a real one. And then I'm going to try and make them alive, and it works kind of somehow. I don't know.
Maybe so. But what I didn't understand, was the girl laying on the grass. She hears something, and she happened to be looking around. Now, this is kind of an open field, sort of. I mean, she's closer to the bushes, but people around, and he's standing there with a chainsaw.
And he makes it look like he's doing gardening, but
but looking in her whatever he's wearing is in her direction. And he's just like holding it, and she's just like, oh, and go back to reading. And I was like, hell no, I would have got up. Like, there would have been no way I would have stayed there. And all of a sudden he gets her and she starts to scream. And this is open. Like,
people walked by seconds ago. It's like in the middle of the day. It might be 11 a.m. It's like, it's regular traffic hours, and we assume this is right by whatever university it's supposed to be. And let me say, it is not shitty enough to be Boston, okay? They shot it in Spain, right? So I'm like, it's not, I don't like Boston. It's not shitty enough to be Boston.
Well, she's definitely not on speaking terms because she ain't got no head.
No, and he left the rest of her. And one thing that I think we could go into how a lot of mistakes, but one of the big ones for me is that isn't it's forgivable, but we see him, like, so we can see his size and stature. So when they try to blame it on Bluto later, I'm like, it's no way that same dude. Dude just loves rubbing his chainsaw. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
The crime is loving olive oil, and for some reason Robert Altman's Popeye. Like,
as soon as I saw him, I was like, "What are you doing in here?" And he had the most intense side eye.
Like, I think he had a stroke. I'm not sure, because it's always like
he was just looking at everybody like everybody got the side eye.
Maybe you couldn't believe. You think I did this? You think I, like, that was his attitude the whole, you really, seriously, just because I'm a big dude and act fishy anyway, not murder fishy, but a little eccentric in his own way.
And when that incident happened, it was, the detective, everybody was trying to figure it out. The dean was like, be on the hush hush, and then the one teacher that I guess the student that got killed was in his classroom, he didn't give two shits about
I wouldn't. They made fun of him. And they're like, oh, they say, where are my pectorals? They say they're funny. This is a student, for those who haven't seen the movie, maybe student teasing the teacher. I don't know, the anatomy and physiology teacher. I answered a girl's question. She's like, I think he's like a sugar plum about the anatomy and physiology teacher. And they're like, careful, you know what sugar does? I'm like, yeah, go straight to your thighs, but not this teacher because he's interested in men. And they have different like 80s code of saying it until like the end, I think.
Well,
it felt like when the cops came in, like we hear the dean talking about him, like, oh well, he isn't married and lives with his mother. Like it feels like okay, you know.
Yeah,
it's nice. Maybe mom needs company. I think that's sweet.
Yeah, but he definitely didn't give a damn that her head was missing. Like he was like, I gotta get to class, I gotta grade papers, I gotta get going. I'm like, dang, like he just did not care.
So we have two detectives, and then later it shifts to Kendall, who's a college student, and then Kendall and a former tennis pro, now turned undercover cop, does it with him. So then it kind of like shifts narratives a few times. I think that's where it starts to get loosely connected. So after the second murder is when Kendall comes in, because he's in the library with his silly little buddy, and he gets a note from the girl saying, meet me in the swimming pool, I want to do you underwater. It was that, basically. It was an overt note. And
at this time the killer happens to be in there at the same time. Because you see sometimes the camera changes for the point of view of, someone's walking and looking. And that's when the killer he picks up the note. Because Kendall was like, nah. Didn't he throw it away? He was like, no. Threw it down.
He's very serious about his studies, I guess.
Well, I think he was banging somebody else.
But he didn't seem very serious about her, because once he got news he thought the undercover cop woman was in trouble. He's like, I gotta stop having sex with you right now. I gotta go. Like literally in the middle of.
And they showed him full frontal, full frontal, and I. Okay, and okay. The second time I watched it, I noticed that he was not circumcised.
I don't look at it that well. But no, I'm not judging.
Gonna be looking. I don't know. I was just like, nah, he's not full frontal. And then I was like, oh, you rarely see full frontal for men. It's always women. That was surprising.
I say release the penises, as they say. Like if there's going to see a lot of women naked, we might as well see men naked. What, you think we can't handle it? I used to be a nursing assistant. I've seen hundreds. Okay, it's not going to get me all upset. Or hot and bothered like these co-eds they have written are like, these women are horny all the time. And isn't it frustrating? I don't know. I don't think many men find that frustrating. But,
well, I didn't mind. We need to see more, because I'm tired of looking at us. Like all we do is see us, especially in this film. Like there was a lot of us, just boobies everywhere. So at this point, well, I think we should we just move on from seeing his genitals?
Yeah. So that was that. So that happens a little later. But so Kendall's arc becomes involved, and they might try to make him seem like a little bit of a suspect, but not really. And then they deputize him later.
That was weird.
That's weird. Like, I'm gonna make him. He said, "You think he's a suspect? I'm gonna make him deputy. We're putting all of Boston's police funds into this case." Okay. Well, it feels like you could get a real deputy, but that's just not that I'm crazy about them.
But you're kind of suspicious with him throughout the movie, because you feel like.
Did you know who the killer was? The first time.
The first time I watched it,
there's really only 3 suspects.
I want to say I don't remember the first time I thought. Well, I felt like the teacher, the dean,
and Kendall a little.
And Kendall, like one of those 3. But I knew it had to be someone professional, because he would bring the bodies back, and they would show the killer putting the puzzle together, but it was like in an office or a nice apartment or something like that. So then it kind of pushed Kendall away.
The trench coats are not cheap. I mean,
Yeah,
you can get
yeah.
them cheap now, but in the 80s, it was harder to get like one that was cheap. So, but that seems like businessman attire to me, you know? No, but it's, I think you're rich if you have a trench coat, I guess. La-di-da, Mr. Fancy Pants McGee.
Yeah, that was the only reason why I was like, it can't be Kendall.
Well, because a lot of people be like, it's so obvious who it was. And I'm like, well, this movie narratively doesn't make sense in a lot of ways. So I think it would be, so I can't expect the movie is going to make narrative sense and choose the person that makes narrative sense. But it was really only the dean and the professor that were like the real suspects. And so I didn't know, because it's a movie like, I don't know where this is going to go. One of Bruce Lee's clones, but that's from he was in the movie. The clones of Bruce Lee. I'm not. It was a thing in the 70s and the 80s where they have these different Bruce Lee, I think, is the one that's in this movie, and Bruce Lee and Lee Bruce. So it was a thing, and he was one of So he just jumps out of nowhere when the female cop Mary Riggs, undercover, as the tennis teacher. She's just walking around the campus at night alone, and he just jumps out of nowhere and just does like these Bruce Lee like moves, and she's able to
so random.
It was so random. I know there was a reason, because they were
I think because it was a producer, Dick Randall. He was making a kung fu film in Rome, and a cameo for Bruce Lee imitator Bruce Lee was written into the film just for like shits and giggles
and promotion.
Things about this that was just irritating. It was funny, it was irritating, and it was like, what? Like the aerobics class, when the killer is watching, she has to go to the bathroom or something, and it took her 20 minutes to get to. I mean, every hallway was just so long, and I was like, by this time he could have like slashed her up and killed her. And then she finally gets to where she needs to go. And I was like, that is the longest bathroom run I've ever seen. Like,
if the bathroom's that far away from a class I'm taking, a physical class, I'm going to go to the bathroom before class.
Yeah.
And not drink too much water, because that's a long go.
Yeah. But in between these kills, they also show the puzzle. And so whatever pieces he got to, that is what he's looking for. So when he puts together the head part first, obviously, he gets someone's head, and then the arms. All the kills, I think there's two I thought was the most messed up. The girl with the arms, she's running away, and she gets to the elevator, and he's like right there, standing here, and she opens the elevator.
Looking like Liam Neeson is Dark Man, and like just put a chainsaw behind his back, and she just thought some dude was chasing her, and she's like, oh, this guy dressed in all black, and I can't see his face. This is fine. This is fine. Just let him on in.
I was like, what is happening? And she's in there, and he's just, revving up the chainsaw. I felt so bad for her. There was nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go. And they did use a real pig, not a live pig, it was dead. Pig to where you see the chainsaw going directly into assumingly her torso. It's actually a pig. And that's the one thing I found out today is the pool scene and the pool murder and the waterbed murder. It was December and the water was below 5 degrees, and I'm like, okay, I'll show my boobs and be in a slasher movie and like be, not a very feminist character. It's fine with me, but that water better be comfy. That's too far for me.
What I read, she nearly froze to death.
Oh my God.
It's not that serious.
It's not that serious.
It was just weird. After he pulled her out of the water, she was laying there like, I'm just like, okay, just get up. Why are you still laying? Just showing everything. This director, I don't know.
Yeah, no. I don't have a problem with being into feet, but I don't know why, like Tarantino and different directors, like they want us to really know it. Like I don't.
Yeah, it's not hidden.
No, I mean, like I don't put stuff like that into what I do. I mean, it's just fine. I just don't know why. I don't know the need. Maybe it's like a way of being naughty. getting away with it or something like that, and just we don't notice it with other directors so much because if they don't have a specific fetish, we're just used to seeing titties so much, you know, in everything. So,
well, the girl, another one, that poor girl, when she was getting dressed and she took off running and she was topless and she went into the bathroom and tried to close the door and the killer was behind her and he was just revving up and tearing through the door. And the poor thing, she was just peeing on herself. I was so sad for her. I was like,
I'd rather have been the girl who peed on herself than the girl that had to be in below 5 pool. I would choose that. I will pee on myself, but I don't. Not
did that really happen? I don't think so.
They say that, but I don't think so. I don't. Who knows? But I mean, if I had to have an unfortunate incident on set, that would be my choice. So that I got so scared that the actor has a chainsaw so close to me. I don't want to be in cold water. It's not for me. I'm against it.
Okay, during all this, they're trying to figure out what is happening, why these kills are happening, and who is the killer. And so on the jigsaw puzzle, you start to see what is next. It's just who is going to be the victim. And Mary Riggs, who's like undercover, and Kendall, who's like tagging along with her,
he has a crush on her like a little puppy.
Yes, he did. They end up finding this poor woman who it was a tennis player. So that's how she took a shower, and that's why she was topless. She was getting dressed. And I laughed so hard because when they went in to see her, and then Kendall went in to find the body, and then Mary went after her, and she said this. She was just like, wow. Yeah. I put down what she said. She was like, oh my gosh, like while we're out there fumbling with the music because there was music playing and they were trying to shut it off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the lousy bastard was in there killing her.
Bastard! She puts her whole body into it. Like, whoa, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's one of the best scenes of the movie, honestly. It's one of my favorite parts because when people mention pieces, I think of that first. Bastard!
And so this is, at some point, she has made an appointment with the dean.
Oh, to talk about the anatomy teacher was her ploy into it, yeah.
Yeah, because I think she thinks, was it an anatomy teacher? Like, I think a couple of people thought it was him.
Yeah, because he's weird, you know. They're like, no, he's just gay. He's not actually weird. Well, who knows what they were trying to say with that. But but yeah, that people, because I didn't actually pick up that he was gay the first couple times until they say it. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess. Because he just seems like just an annoyed teacher. Like, we don't really get to know him very well. He's just like around when a lot of the murders happened, and was like, well, he was fairly close to that. And the dean's acting like, I don't want anybody to know that this is happening, you know, so you shouldn't have killed that girl during the day, dumbass, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, and I think this is when, well, we kind of get down to the bottom. So we got the torso, the head, the arms, the
legs,
the torso, the legs, and then we're down at the bottom, and we still don't know who the killer is. But the moment I knew, it was when he offered her coffee.
And he pulled out like a sneaky cartoon character, like Spy versus Spy, the retinol or whatever little droplets that are gonna horse tranquilizer, I assume. Yeah. Or something equivalent to that.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay.
He's super specific. Like, she can't see him, but the audience can, and he's super suspicious. It's like this is just a air, but like he's like.
But you could tell she's so uneasy because she's like, I want coffee, but I don't want the coffee, and then she's just unsure.
He tries to not convince her not. He's like, it's instant, I'm afraid. Don't you want her to drink it?
Wait, yeah, like I don't know. It was so. She was uneasy. I was uneasy. He just made everything uneasy. I mean, he was complaining about his own coffee to the point where she could have been like, "Oh, I'm done. I'm good."
She takes 2 sips and he's like, I'll give you more. And then he leaves. Like, she hasn't even finished the first one.
Yeah, and he just
Sorry, I didn't put enough poison in it. I'm sorry. Let me get... Sorry. Like, no one's watching me. Well, the audience. It was like, kind of cute.
But she couldn't taste it? She couldn't taste the difference? That must be some strong instant coffee.
Yeah, well, it tastes burnt when it's instant. I don't like that burnt taste. Like, I think Starbucks tastes all burnt. They're all probably poisoned. And then Dunkin' Donuts tastes like water, so like coffee water. So what are you gonna do?
Never had their coffee. It's Dunkin' Donuts.
It's nothing to rave about. It does the job if you don't have anything else. But that's my opinion. I'm not like I'm betraying my New England roots. You know.
Well, whatever was going on with that coffee, it was doing a lot to her, because next thing you know, she was like, she couldn't move. She was just like stuck, and he was heading for them legs.
So it must have been some kind of tranquilizer of some sort.
Yeah, because she could move her eyes. She just could. But they ended up figuring out that it was the dean.
How did they figure that out? I can't remember.
I think a phone call.
Oh, I remember. They can't, like, the detective, like, which both detectives, by the way, are in a contest that who has the most caterpillar eyebrows of them all. Both of them. And the one that looks like Leslie Nielsen is, he's like, I've been working so hard on this. And then Kendall's like, oh, here's something. And what it is just that the dean's mother was murdered. And so he must be the killer, which is like, I mean, not necessarily, but in this case, it's true. So what does it matter? I mean,
but I think because the one that looks like Leslie Nielsen, that sergeant, I think he was the profile. He was a profile detective, and I think they were looking for a piece to see who would fit the profile. And I guess when they noted that it was discovered his mom was killed, murdered.
In front of him.
Oh, he fit the profile, and it was like, it's him. And then they all run over there, but by that time he was taking Mary's shoes off and looking at her feet, rubbing on them.
And he talks like I think the actor's English, right? He has that whimsical way of doing the W. When are you going to finish the job as God? When are you going to finish the job as Gardner here? And he's very snooty about it towards what is it, Brutus? Like, how could I forget a name that I just said?
It's Willard.
Willard. Yeah, and he says, Willard, when are you done with your job here on the campus? When I'm done, dude. I'm not being paid by the hour.
Remember,
my favorite lines of the movie.
Was giving that side eye.
I am pro Willard. You know, like, he's just trying to get his job done. He's like, I don't get paid by the hour, so it doesn't suit me to be longer either, dude. Like, he literally says, like, I don't get paid by the hour, so I want to be done with this job too, buddy. And then he is hassled by the police, and then he's still working there on the campus, and all these people are touching stuff and playing, like, music over the loudspeakers and trying to stop. You know, I have sympathy for him.
But by the time they get to the office, the dean was missing, but she was trying to tell him he's over there with her eyes.
Like, he's behind the curtain. She's like,
and they're like, what's caught on to that?
Yeah,
she was dead in his face, like, and then it was just, oh, let's get her up, and I was like, come on.
I believe that men are that stupid. Sorry.
And then he jumps out, and was it like they didn't even fight him? They just shot him, right? They just shot him right in the head. That was it.
And then it wasn't it.
Well, the body, that's where they find the body that was kind of...
Which we were not given... We did see the mirroring of the puzzle, but we never got any indication that he was taking the pieces. But there's nothing supernatural implied by any means, because first the body just falls out. And they're like, oh my god. And it doesn't do anything. You know, it just flops out like it would. You know, you'd expect it to. But then before do you want to mention describe the crescendo, not the crescendo, but the finale of the movie?
Well, so when it falls out, it falls on Kendall, and it's just there, and he was on his way out. But as he was standing there, for some reason, the hand came up
Of
and
the
grabbed
messed
his
up body.
genitals
And like
and
scratched it, like
blood gushing everywhere.
And the movie ends with his face like.
I was like, where? Why? Like,
there's like a dun 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 dun. That's the end. You know.
I mean, I know he was putting body parts together, but when did he have time to put veins and arteries to create this to come alive? Like, it was
if we're going by like movie Dr. Frankenstein rules here, like there was no lightning storm.
When the detective was him and the other lieutenant was trying to figure out who's the victim, and they had all the people standing together like the movie Clue, and then there was light and flashing, and everybody looking suspicious.
That's when they started to bring the body to life, I guess, because that's the only. There's no other technology. I don't. Yeah. You know, it must have been. They're like, you know what? It was just like, I don't know how the conversation happened during filming, and it definitely was probably, I think, a later on decision, for sure. But it's like, wouldn't it be cool if the body was alive? And wouldn't it be funny if Kendall's crotch got scratched? And for some reason, I want to know your feelings about Kendall. Because guys don't like Kendall. They're like, he's annoying. And I'm like, I don't know. I think he's kind of cute.
He was too... No, I didn't... He was just... I don't know what it was about
He's kind of whiny.
He is whiny. But he was always he was always at the right place at the right time to find the bodies.
See, I'd be opposite. I'd be nowhere near that as a student. Nowhere.
I don't know. It just felt like he was like placed throughout the film at the right moment when things, and he was so annoying, such a baby.
He was a baby, but it was
baby face.
Baby, he has got the baby face and the curly hair. You know, I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of like, I wouldn't go out with him, but there's something charming about keeping him around, you know? He'll follow you around, you know?
I mean, he was trying to get at Mary, too. She was just
a guy that loves a good MILF, you know? I respect that. I mean, age appropriate, you know what I mean? Like, there's limits. I'm gonna, you know.
I give him for trying. I give it for, like, he did try. She turned him down.
And that was the actress, like, they were originally supposed to have sex, and the actress is like, no. So it is kind of funny to get him to turn.
Well, I heard they kind of tricked her into being in the film because it was like, oh, it's more of a crime drama.
Because her husband's the younger eyebrow detective.
Yeah.
Younger, so like not white-haired.
Yeah, she didn't think it was going to be gory and bloody. And then when she got on set, it was like, oops.
Yeah. I can't say it's not a crime thriller. I mean, it does have some... It's not a giallo by any means, but it has basically how the killer is dressed. But you could also say that's like Darkman or The Shadow or any of those figures. But but the thing that makes me specifically think giallo, which I don't think was their intention at all, is the fact that he was wearing a mask, so you can't see the face at all except through the eyes, and they don't. The only time we see the eyes is that I can remember is the first murder, which like gives away one of their more obvious, not him, suspects with Bluto, Willard, because there's no way that's the same dude, like a basically kind of slight, not big, not too small guy, and this, you know, Bluto's Bluto shaped, you know, he's broad, like, and he's not, I don't know how tall he is, but that's not the same dude. There's no way that's the same dude. It could have been the professor, though. Could have been. Just looking at him. Just by looking at him.
I kind of wish it was the professor. I wish they would have switched it. Because I think it would have made sense of the body coming to life. Like
he's the anatomy and physiology teacher, you know. That's kind of like a joke in itself. They obviously like making little jokes in this movie, so it just seems like it'd be appropriate. I mean, what is the dean? I don't know. I guess he's got a lot of more free time than he alludes to. You know, when he has that argument with the professor's like, I don't have time for this. I have midterms coming up or something to that effect. And he's like, well, I have a whole school to take care of. So, but you find the time to make a woman out of body parts. So you definitely have time. Definitely have time. That's how I'd feel after I found out he's been doing all these murders and he was on my back about time. Forget it. Something that's interesting about Pieces to me is it was fairly financially successful when it came out, but it still has the cult status. And you know, usually, like, I don't know if Arrow released the first DVD, or Anchor Bay. It's usually Anchor Bay, but I do know Arrow Video had like this special like the collector's kind of edition with the nice professional artwork done and everything like that. I don't know if it's still, I don't think it's still for sale, but you can still buy it, but you know, so it definitely had a cult status. And when it was running on the marathon, for the last drive-in, you know, everyone was like, everyone has seemed to, you know, you do the live tweeting as I do. I'm a freaking nerd. So, you know, so it's, everyone's like, yes, finally Pieces. And I had never heard of this. And for this podcast, I asked a couple people that I know they're good barometers for this type of film. These two people I know, because they like cult films. They've watched a lot of cult films and they can enjoy a film that doesn't narratively make sense. But if it's too stupid, they're out, you know? So I asked them both, like, and they're separate, they don't know each other, separate people. I'm like, hey, what do you think of the movie Pieces? And they're like, they both hadn't seen it. So, you know, I really now I have to show them both Pieces. You'll watch this and you'll give me your opinion, because I love having people that are like a barometer for what kind of film they can get into, because I don't think the thing about it is Pieces was made not intentionally to be one of those so bad it's good, but they didn't really pay attention to make it good at the same time. Like, they're like, let's just throw in a cameo from Blue Sleigh. Let's just, you know, why not the body be you know, scratch Kendall in the crotch for the end? It's hilarious. And you know, it's, and also there's never, you know, we have the switch from the killer to the detectives, and we think we're following these detectives for a brief period of time, and then it's Mary Riggs and Kendall.
Also, I think I have it in my notes. I want to make sure I say it right. That they were planning to make a part 2.
Piece 2.
But something, they just couldn't get the money for it. I hope I'm saying that right, because there's another movie I feel like I was watching and that has something to do with it. But
I do know that it was unusual for, and I know this because it's part of something Joe Bob Briggs covered about the movie, so that's how I know this. Is I don't know about the sequel, but it was rare, you know, it was common for French international productions and Italian international productions to get American funding, but for whatever reason, Juan Piquer Simon, I don't know if it was a success of a previous film, got American funding. So he was taken very seriously as a film director in Spain because he got American funds. So maybe, I don't know for sure, he wasn't able to accumulate that type of funding for a sequel.
Oh, I'm going to remake this. Just do a part 2. Like, continue it on. We don't need to remake this one. It's great what it is. It's just...
Who would play Kendall? We want to get some Timothée Chalamet?
I don't think so. I don't think, he's not a horror person.
No. He did well in Bones and all, but it wasn't so. I can't see him in a slasher. And he's fine. He's like one of, what do they call them, beach babies? You know, like they lay them out on the beach and then they take them out to air and they start a film.
I can't think of anybody. Maybe some no names. Give other people a shot.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's how some people really at least break into this genre and be popular. I mean, Bruce Campbell, I was about to say Bruce Lee. Bruce Campbell is one of those people, you know. He's known in the horror community, and he's known otherwise now that Evil Dead is one of the most famous horror movies. So I like my friend that Pieces was too much for him. He's watched all the Saw movies with me. So go figure. I don't know. I think it's just that in pieces it just is
it's
so visceral right away, and with Saw you're kind of prepared a little more.
Well, I think in Saw everyone's fair game, whereas Pieces it targeted women in the worst way. So maybe that's the uncomfortable part that people are just not ready to see or hear.
Well, he didn't get to that part. He just got to the kid killing his mother part with an axe. Like, that's because it is quite up close. You do feel it gets right close to like we do see his mom's point. What would be her point of view with the kid going like this? It is quite something. It's a bang. It starts with a bang and it's fun. And like when I first saw it, I'm like, this is gonna be good. Already has won me over. And I consider it a good movie. I mean, it is a movie that if somebody doesn't like something that isn't going to make a lot of sense, probably not for you. But it does make sense. You just gotta, basically there's a killer, they find out who it is, the end. But who would you say is the main character? The killer? Kendall? Like, I'm not sure on that one.
Okay, it's not the detective because he kind of came in and out. It's not Mary. I don't believe it's her.
And Kendall gets as much, maybe a little more screen time than her because we see him after the pool murder before she comes into it. And the killer we do get his point of view, as you mentioned with the first murder with the chainsaw, and in the library you had mentioned. But I don't feel like he's like. I feel usually when the killer's the main character, you pretty much, as the audience, know who the killer is, so you can see how they're masking in front of other people,
I think that maybe it is the killer.
I think he's the closest thing.
Because we see what happens and this kid gets away with it. And then it shows many years later, so obviously he's around. And then I think we get the point of view of the first time was when the girl was on the skateboard. So I think it was like,
I agree. I don't think they were trying to make a main character, like they didn't worry about it, but definitely I agree the killer is, I think it was the closest thing we get.
I think the crime part or the mystery part of this is who is it? Because the killer is in our face. It's just who is it? So I think
it was Dean Brown in the pool with not the candlestick but with the chainsaw, because he is Dean Brown. It's Dean Brown in the pool with the chainsaw. That's who did it.
But yeah, it's a fun film. It's great to have in your collection. You can watch it multiple times. You can have a watch party. You can have it going in the background for Halloween. It's just one of those films that's just entertaining and just like it's just fun. So.
It's very fun. It's very fun. I mean, you don't get a cult status if you're not fun, in some way or another.
Thank you so much for joining me talking about Pieces. I always love your insight. And sometimes it makes me see things differently. That's why I love to have different guests on here to talk about horror movies, because I love their perspective. And sometimes like, oh, I didn't recognize that, or I didn't see that, or it changes my mind about something. And I always do enjoy hearing from you. So, but thank you.
I enjoy hearing from you, and I highly appreciate being here.
So, but let everyone know where they could find your content. She's a great photographer. I want you to take pictures of me. I know you live so far away.
Well, I'm trying to be more social and go to horror conventions and stuff, because I know so many people from TikTok or Instagram, and they make like a lot of people that make all this awesome horror art, or they're horror podcasters, and like you, I love talking to other people about horror movies. So I'm trying to have more of a social life. So and I'll bring my camera, and depending on how far away, my lights. But yeah, I love photography too. But this was fun. This was a great pick. You picked the right one.
So tell people where they can find you. I know you have a podcast.
Well, right now we're taking a pause. The Let Us In podcast, which can be found on wherever you listen to podcasts. So you could also watch our faces talk. Also on YouTube, just Let Us In podcast. But if I'm on a social media site, I'm always Emma of the Impact. You can find me.
Okay. All right. So make sure you follow her. She's amazing. She's just so cool. So make sure you do that. And also, if you like videos like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment and share. This is how we get stuff out there. So thank you so much. And everybody, thank you, Emma. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next time.
When we meet again. When?
Wait, hold on. I'm going to get it. When?
Yes. It's getting better.
Okay. All right, everybody. Till next time. Bye.